Well, let's move from languages that are spoken to languages that are written. Books we're talking about because they help us all to escape and to enter worlds where imagination is limitless. And this week, kids' books and their authors and illustrators are being celebrated and recognised.
The Children's Book Council of Australia Book of the Year Awards kick off the Children's Book Week this weekend. And joining us now in the studio is author Tristan Bancks, who's won the award. A very big welcome to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. Now, I'm just going to continue. You won the Book of the Year in the Young Readers category for your book Scartown and the Shadow Judging Awards. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And you've actually got the award with you too.
Oh, I do.
Come on.
Show and tell.
I mean, it's not just the Olympians.
No, that's it
as well.
It's so shiny and it's very heavy too.
Yeah.
It's heavier than you would think.
You want it to be heavy.
I know.
Yeah.
Does that mean solid gold?
Probably.
Yes.
Let's say it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to melt it down or anything, but it could be.
That's right.
Listen, when I read this book, I felt like I was part of the adventure as well. I was going on the adventure as well. It's a great story, and it reminded me of some shades of, I think it was Stephen King's Stand By Me as well.
Yeah.
Close friends going on an adventure, but also some personal journeys and discoveries.
Yeah.
How did you get the inspiration to write this story?
I think actually The Body by Stephen King, which was turned into Stand By Me, was one of the initial inspirations. It was my favourite movie as a teenager, and it's still one of my favourite movies, I think. And also a song by The Verve called Appalachian Springs, and I tend to make book soundtracks and I'll listen to the same music over and over again. So those two things, and then my holidays to Jindabyne when I was a kid with my cousins, where they sunk an old town beneath a lake. And I've always been fascinated by that idea of drowned towns.
I can see it in Jindabyne now. Yeah. Amazing.
What's interesting, I think, is that you write for teens and they're often a bit scary and a bit edgy. Do you think it's important to make it, to not censor the books too much and to make it a bit edgy and scary?
I think so, because anyone who has had kids will know that kids from a very young age are actually asking big questions around mortality and morality and big ideas like that. And, you know, when I was a kid reader, you went from Fantastic Mr. Fox to The Shining and It and Pet Sematary kind of thing. There was no middle grade. There wasn't even much young adult sort of thing. So I try to write for that upper primary, early high school when I was interested in those ideas, and but to write age appropriately for those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you're currently working on producers to bring your books to screen, some of your books to screen, I believe. I guess you have an advantage being an actor, a director, and now an author as well, just to be able to paint pictures and scenes, I suppose.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's just a natural thing of wanting to tell stories in lots of different ways. And it's an exciting time to be an author in that, yes, you write the book on the page, but you can also bring it to life using video book trailers, and you go out and speak in schools, and then you show all the images and music and things that inspired the writing. And so I feel like there are so many good storytelling tools and ways to inspire kids to pick up a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. When you talk about speaking in schools, your books are used in schools to encourage reluctant readers.
Yeah.
How do you get kids to pick up a book who perhaps haven't done so for a lot of their lives?
I think it's getting harder at a younger age to get kids to read, or just anecdotally from teacher librarians, I'll say, you know, even kids in late primary school now, because of all the different, you know, storytelling, you know, formats that are around. And so I like to write books in accessible language. I like quite sort of spare language when I'm reading too. I like quite economical prose. And so I feel like that's a way in for a reluctant reader or someone who doesn't see themselves as a reader. The language is accessible, but then you can also, if you spend enough time on the book, you can also write in layers, and if you want to unpack the story and dig deeper into themes, you can do that too as a reader.
You've been writing since 2005. Have you found that over the years, readers are looking at life or stories in a different way, and you have to adapt to that? And because it just seems to me that the younger generation is far more matured because they're a lot more exposed to more things.
they're really story savvy too. I think they're so
That's it.
used to, you know, reading stories and especially visual storytelling. So I try to write the books quite visually. I really want them to unfold almost like a movie in the kids' imagination, and I want them to do that for me too. So I gather hundreds of images when I'm writing, and once I've seen it, I feel like I can write it more authentically, as though it feels real to me, and it's immersive for me as a writer as well as hopefully for the reader.
Wow.
Well, Tristan Bancks, thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations on Scartown, your many other books and these awards as well.
Yeah.
Thanks a
All
lot.
the
Thanks for
best.
having me.
Yeah, thanks
Happy Book Week.
Yes, absolutely.
You too.